It is, pardon me, sorry about that. So I am really glad to be here today, and I want to say first and foremost, thank you for that wonderful voices of that song, The Sacrifices on Veterans Day. That was really touching and really important and special to me because that's the first time I've heard it. And coming from you all, especially the fourth graders, really touches my heart. I'd like to begin this morning by saying thank you to Mr. Robert Bradley, Bob, and also Principal Mr. Rhodes. Thank you very much, and the Vice Principal, Mr. Natavidad. So thank you all for this opportunity to come here and speak to you about Veterans Day. So my hope today is to share a story with you. Do you like to hear a story? All right. I'm going to ask for your help. I saw this wonderful hand gesture like this. So that means that you all are very quiet and very respectful. Thank you very much for that. Can I invite you to do something with me today? I'm going to give you a hand signal like this. And when I do that, I want you to say two words. I want you to say, "Go Navy." Can you say that with me? Let's try that once or twice. Here we go. Ready?
Go Navy!
One more time.
Go Navy!
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we're going to do that together throughout my presentation today. And it's just so really special for me to be here. I look old, don't I? Would you believe it if I told you that I was once your age? Yeah. Okay. Not only am I going to tell you that, I'm going to show it to you up here. So, let's begin. I'm going to take you on a journey far away. So we're here in the Pacific Northwest, Washington State. Okay? I'm going to take you on a journey to a place called Laos. So for those of you who may not know where Laos is, let's follow the arrow. Way on the other side, right? So for those of you who really want to know where Laos is, this is where it is. That's where I came from. I'm a lot like you. A lot of you come from other parts of the world, and I believe there's almost 150 different languages spoken in this area. So we talk a lot differently, don't we? Yes, we do. But that's what makes us special. The way we talk, the way we think, the way we behave. That's what makes us special. I grew up along a river called the Mekong River. I love the river. I love the water. Maybe that's why I'm in the Navy. But the river would probably look something like this. Pretty wide, isn't it? Okay, let's follow the arrow and see what kind of place I live. On the other side, where there's clouds and green mountains, and there's some flat places. My grandparents lived on what's called a farm, a rice paddy. And they have a rice paddy that would look like this. Yeah. So we also lived in houses, but our houses look a little bit different. This is the kind of house I lived in. That is my house. We would also have animals that come out every now and then and say hello. So what kind of animal is that? Elephant. Can I tell you, trying to ride an elephant that young is kind of hard. One, they're very hairy. You can't tell, but they do have a lot of hair on their back. That was one of the pets I grew up with. Remember I told you I was once young like you. This is what kids in my village would have looked like when I was growing up. I'm not in this picture, but that's just kids. Where I grew up wasn't always a nice place to live. There's this thing called war that happened, And when the war happened to us, my parents and grandparents said it was time to leave. And so when we left our home, we became what's called a refugee. And so when we entered the refugee system, they took a picture of us. And this is what our family looked like. This is a picture of my family when we came over. How many third graders do we have in the room? Can you raise your hand, third graders? Okay, fantastic. Please lower your hand. How many third grade teachers do we have here? Okay, you are my hero. Why? Because when we came over at this age, third grade teacher was the one that taught us how to spell our last name. You know our last name is very long. It was a third grade teacher that taught us how to speak English and how to spell our last name. Which one do you think I am in this picture? Just take a guess yourself. Take a guess yourself. So I grew up and I came to Texas. Third grade was when I entered the schools, just like you all back there. And the teachers taught me how to do everything I need to do in the new country, new language. But once I learned what this country had to offer, I knew that I wanted to do some of the best jobs that could ever be done, and that's to serve others. And as I watched the teachers that taught me and others like them serve others, I was really touched. I was touched by a lot of men and women who were in uniform and who said, I am in the Navy, I'm in the Air Force, I'm in the Army, but I said, I want to be like you. I want to do the good things that you're doing. So I joined them. And so I went through the Navy and did a lot of wonderful things. And eventually I came here to Seattle and loved the state of Washington, loved the people of Washington State. So just like you. So why do I do it? Why did I serve? I came to San Francisco, not through New York, but if you came through New York, you probably saw this statue, right? It's the Statue of Liberty. Remember this, remember this. Today we said a pledge of allegiance to the flag. But why we serve is a little bit higher than that. There's this thing that starts with we the people. It's the Constitution. As someone who wears the uniform, I have said that I will support and defend the Constitution because it is important to us. It's important because that paper tells us what freedoms we have and what we are given as what's called rights. So, these things that we can do today, I can stand here today and speak with you because of this thing called freedom of religion. There are so many other different religions, but just know that the freedoms you have allows you to go play, allows you to go shopping, allows you to go watch movies, all that stuff without having to worry. That's what freedom to me means. It also allows us to practice our faith. Where there's so many different faiths in our nation, so when you come to the United States, you should be able to feel like you can practice your faith without having to worry. And you can also be a family. So why do I serve? It's for our freedom, for our faith, for our family, really for each other. I'm here because I want you to grow up and be whatever you want to be. I want you to chase your dreams without having to worry. Learn as much as you can. So what do we do? What do we do? I want to start off with my service in the Navy. It's a young officer. So remember when I give you the thumbs up, what do you say?
Go Navy!
All right. So this young officer is on a submarine. She's a submarine operator. That's the Navy. In the Army, we have pilots who fly helicopters. And in the Air Force, we have airplanes that also needs pilots. So there's a pilot up there too. We have a Coast Guard that watches out and protects us. They come and rescue us through the Rescue Swimmer program. So there's a rescue swimmer. And we also have Marines who really help go and make the really day-to-day things happen for us. And so there are so many people out there still serving on active duty. They're out in the desert. All of this is just to tell you, remember, I said you can be whatever you want to do. Every single one of us started out just like you. We're just ordinary Americans. And what we have been called to do, what we've been said to do, is some really incredible things. We call the word extraordinary. These are truly amazing people showing what they can do. Now, I want to introduce you to a couple of good friends of mine. Her name is Megan McClung, a classmate of mine. Okay? And this is my roommate from the Naval Academy, Robert Goodwin. He's a doctor. There's another friend of mine, Rich Pugh. And another friend of mine, Doug Zembiak, a wrestler. All wonderful Americans just doing amazing things. But the song Sacrifices today reminded me of lives cut short. Sadly, Megan lost her life nearly 12 years ago. She was young. My roommate also passed away in active duty. So we remember the friends that we have and the family that we've had and the things that they've done for us. Some of us served and gave some, but these, like them, give everything that they had. Yes, they left behind families. Yes, they left behind parents, but they did it. We do it, knowing it's all worth it, because we do it for you. We do it for each other. So remember, that is the word. Remember. When you go to cemeteries and put a flower on the headstones or a rock or whatever memento, take a moment to reflect on what those numbers and names mean. And again, just remember. It's a simple thing. It's such a small thing to do for such a sacrifice that they made for us. So, on Veterans Day, coming up on Sunday, at 11 o'clock on Sunday the 11th of November, I want you to do one thing. I want you to think of all the men and women that are out there serving, that are here with you today, that have served. I want you to do something that doesn't require much effort. I want you to do is think of them not as old men and women, not as young men and women, not as Army, Navy, Air Force, but remember what they did. They served. And say this. Okay? That's right. Thank you. Remember, thank them for when they go out there and help others feel better. Say thank you to them. Because they go out and help young people like you in other parts of the world. They also help adults in other parts of the world to try to give them a little bit of the freedom that we enjoy here today. But remember, it's also time for football. Go Thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you today. It's been a real pleasure. You have been a terrific audience. right. And thank you again to all the veterans who are here. Shipmates, comrades, battle buddies, whatever you call them, you've worn the fabric of our nation. You've made the sacrifices. Your family made the sacrifices too. Your children have also borne the weight of that sacrifice on behalf of our nation and service. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you.